You want to kick us off, Josh? Send a little intro.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Josh Epstein. I am the executive director for Seattle Economy, which is the nonprofit that runs the Shoreline Tool Library and Northeast Seattle Tool Library. And our fearless leader, Liana, is here. So I'm just going to pass it over to you.
Thanks so much, Josh. Sorry, I was stuck in the waiting room for some reason. Um, but yeah, we are just going to go ahead and get started. Josh, are you good sharing the
Yeah.
slides, or would you like me? Okay, cool. Well, then there's not really much else I need to do other than turn it over to Jean to get us started.
Sounds great. Um, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Gene Homicki from My Turn. So we both offer a lending library platform that's used by many tool libraries and libraries of things. And I was also a co-founder of the West Seattle Tool Library. So I've both gone through the process of starting a library of things or tool library. Josh, if you want to go to the next slide, that'd be great. Um, as well as work with a number of our basically partners on helping manage these types of programs. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview today on reservations and wait lists, difference, how I see the difference between the two of them, some of the positives and negatives or drawbacks as well, but also the real power in both. And basically, and then I'm happy to stay afterwards a little longer if you want to see anything specific from the My Turn platform. I'm not going to actually focus on our platform, but really talk more generally on why you might want to use reservations, especially. And then I'm also going to leave wait lists more to the other speakers. So if you want to jump ahead. So the way I think of reservations versus wait lists is reservations are typically like a reservation at a restaurant where you are um, basically reserving a, say, table for 7 p.m. on Saturday. So typically a specific date and time for that reservation. Wait lists, I typically think of as people are in line waiting for their turn to use the item. And so similar to public libraries where you place a hold on a book, if it's not available right now, you're going to go on the wait list and you'll be notified when that item is available. And just to step back a little bit, one of the reasons we're talking about this and in general, and I think why everyone's here is it's really important to look at ways we can make reusing items as or more convenient than basically purchasing them. And so how do we make sure those items are available, can be shared more equitably, and can be accessed by the people that need them, hopefully when they need them, or at very least can access them at all if they can't potentially afford them. So going forward a little bit into why reservations. So reservations, again, the way I define them is reservations for specific dates in the future, have a number of member benefits, organizational benefits, as well as community benefits. The member benefits include members can plan projects, events. So if they've taken time off for specific dates in the future, they have a vacation coming up and they want items to bring with them. They're having a party and they want to borrow items for that party. They know when that event is going to happen and they want to basically try to ensure that they have those items. And they might also need many items, or at least a few. So if you're doing a woodworking project, you might need 2 or 3 different items. And so reservations really um, help you rely on being able to have those items when you need them, so that way you can avoid purchases. From an organizational point of view, reservations can help with capacity planning as well, and help you prep reservations in advance. So those members that know what they need in advance can reserve, request those during, if you have any downtime or after closing time. And I know many libraries of things and tool libraries don't tend to have a ton of downtime. But if you do, say the day before pickup or your open day before, you can prep those items in advance. So that way they're ready to go when the person gets there next time, allowing you to do that capacity planning. And then it frees up staff for the basically people that walk in and might need more help picking out what they need for a project, for an event, or for a trip. And it really helps build that long-term engagement and loyalty. And then there are also community benefits. So you can enable larger projects. And I think at least one of our other speakers will be talking about this as well, where you can, we have customers and we have projects that borrow tens, dozens, even hundreds, up to 1,000 items reserved in advance for things like outdoor trips for underprivileged groups of underprivileged youth, or reservations for items for doing an environmental cleanup or a large work day around a neighborhood. And then also just in general, it helps normalize reuse and sharing by making access as dependable as ownership. So I kind of skipped over, actually go ahead, next slide. So there are some challenges with reservations and common concerns, and those can include items coming back late or damaged. So how do you sort of manage that process? Your online and your offline inventory not matching. I know we've had some customers that have that concern. I see some, head shaking, and I'm going to go through ways to address these. Administrative overhead, staff workload, or at least a feeling that it's going to be more difficult for staff to manage those reservations, and then of course no shows. Just going back a moment on wait lists, one of the wait lists can also help alleviate some of these issues. They can also help turn items over a little bit faster, where basically as soon as something comes back, the next person can have it. But they don't necessarily know when they're going to get that item. So I'm going to talk now about how, some strategies that we and our partners have come up with to help make reservations work. And this is across different states and in multiple countries around the world. So in the MyTurn platform, at least, you can set a number of settings to control how reservations work. One of the most powerful is setting buffer days. And those buffer days can be how long from now can someone reserve or request an item? How many days after an item is due back before the next person can reserve that item? If you're operating in multiple locations and transfer items between locations, there's also the concept of a transfer buffer that will increase the time for both that now buffer as well as that between buffer to give you time to get that item to a different location. You can specify items that can't be reserved. So maybe you have just some items you want to only offer ad hoc. So that is another way. So you can limit which items, and maybe it's the items that are really needed needed together for projects. So you want to make sure people can get those items together at the same time, whether it's, again, an event, a trip, or a project. And then you can set all sorts of limits on the length of the reservation, the maximum number or even value of items that can be reserved or checked out at one time, the maximum number of future reservations. So someone can't just, reserve all your items coming up. And then you can also set up pickup and very soon return time slots as well. So if you want to even limit the times when people can pick up and return items to sort of set that scheduling and give your team that more capacity planning. And if you can also set the number of appointments per time slot, and the time slot could be the whole day. So if you have more volunteers or more staff on particular days of the week, you could allow more reservations for those days. And you can, of course, do things like limit how far in advance reservations can be made. We can also look at some of the operational practices. So as mentioned earlier, you can prep items in advance. So that way, you can see exactly, who's supposed to come and pick up their reservations today, tomorrow, next week, in the future, and even prep those items in advance. You can easily swap interchangeable or copies of the same item. So if one copy of an item doesn't come back on time, you can easily grab a different copy of that item to basically prep for that person's reservation when they're picking up. I mean, that assumes you have multiple copies of the reservation. Again, for items where you do have multiple copies, you can hold back some of those copies by basically, you'll see in the screenshot down below, by setting something like a reserve holdback or reservation holdback. So those items can't be reserved. You can even make them so they can't be necessarily seen by the members, but you have extra copies to handle like really popular and in-demand items to make sure that you will have enough in case, again, one needs to, it is returned broken or returned late. We saw some heads nodding on, matching your online and offline inventory. So we really recommend running at least a yearly, if not multiple times per year, a physical inventory check where you can go and enter or scan all the items that you have in person to make sure they match your basically your online inventory. So that way you can sync up your offline and online inventory. This works really well and is really fast if you have your items barcoded, either 1D or 2D barcodes. Then you can use a scanner with memory, go around, scan all your items, upload them to the system, and it'll mark those items as being found. And any of the ones not found, you can basically then mark as being missing. So not remove them from the system, they might come back, but hide them or even just mark them so they can't be reserved. And then another thing is, basically in reuse situations, making sure items are well maintained. So well maintained, so that way they're going to be in good working order. They're fixed quickly. So we offer maintenance tracking to help libraries of things and tool libraries really keep their items in good shape and make sure that they're in working order. And then sort of implied in some of the other items, good operational practices, if possible, and if you can afford it, having basically multiple copies of those high demand items can be really important. So that gives you that ability to swap out different copies. You can also do things, just sort of some other strategies. If someone had reserved a particular type of power drill, you don't have that type, but you have another type available. You could also do a more manual swap, even if it's not the same one. And then the other big item is communication. So, manual and automated reminders, setting clear expectations. Some organizations will do things like they'll inform people, don't come to pick up your reservation until you get a notice that those items are ready. So we have a process to basically, prepare that reservation or build the order for them, and you can send out a notice, yes, your items are now ready for pickup. You could even do that early, and when you check out with the reservation, it'll still keep their end date. So that way, if they needed it for particular dates, you can do that, and you can do that prep process and that notification, as mentioned, either for the day that they're supposed to pick up, or you can do it early. So, and I will say it really does help. I know I've run into this myself. I moved to a new area. Our public library offered holds. I needed an infrared camera. I had kind of just moved in. I wanted to do some work to basically do some weatherization. And my hold came up at the library basically the day I was leaving for a vacation. And it had taken weeks for that hold to, basically get to me. So I actually did go down there. I was planning on returning it before I left. I ran out of time, and I ended up having that item for a week when I really only needed it for a few hours, and I could have, brought it back like the next day. So reservations, like for planning, and especially when you're basically need multiple items at the same time, really, really can help people rely on libraries of things and tool libraries. So that way they don't have to feel like they have to purchase those items. They're not guaranteed to get it, just like they might not get that table at the restaurant exactly at 7:30, but most people do understand that. And when you set those expectations to let them know, it does help. And most from what we've seen, most members, are understanding if a change needs to be made to their reservation and things like that. But otherwise, as mentioned, I was just giving this overview. I'm happy to answer questions. I think we're probably going to hold those to the end, and I can even, demo any of these features either now, afterwards, or in a separate session. So always feel free to reach out to me and ask questions, and I will hand it over to our next speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, everybody. My name is Tessa Vierk. I am the executive director of the Chicago Tool Library, and my operations manager, Rachel, is here, so I'm going to trust her to chime in if I forget something, since she's kind of the front lines of our lending program. So let's talk about how the Tool Library does reservations and waitlists. So the Chicago Tool Library uses two softwares. We do use MyTurn, so I won't go too much into how we use MyTurn, since Gene gave a bit of an overview about how MyTurn's reservations work, and he did a good job of explaining sort of the motivations and the needs for that. We also have an in-house software that we built about 6 years ago called Circulate. And our Circulate software is what we use for our general public lending. That's sort of our main lending program. Like most libraries of things, it's, individual users with their own membership, borrowing, like Jean mentioned, maybe about 10 things at a time. And we do run that on a waitlist system, much like the public library, so that if you're waiting for a table saw or something, you won't be able to schedule a time to come get it until it's back at the library. So you're not expecting, to get it for July 14th if sometime between when you reserved it and July 14th, it goes into maintenance or it goes missing or something. It helps us to manage expectations that you're only going to be able to schedule a time with a tool when it's physically back at the tool library. And then again, we use MyTurn for our community groups. So we did inherit an entire tool bank. If you look them up later, they're another tool nonprofit, but we inherited, thousands and thousands of tools from a tool bank that was shutting down, which allowed us to start a tool lending program for community groups because there were just so many duplicates of every single item. And because of that, like Jean recommended, we're able to use the reservation system in MyTurn to help our community groups make large reservations far in the future for specific periods of time. And a big reason we're able to do that is because we have so many duplicates of everything, which is a little bit tougher for us to do with our general public memberships, where there might be one very obscure novelty waffle maker or something that, there's just one. So let's see, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll just give a quick overview of how our holds reservations work for our general public with our in-house software. So as a member, you're able to scroll through our inventory software and place a hold on the items you're interested in, and that puts you on a list. If you're first in line on that list, no one else is waiting for it, you can go right ahead and schedule a pickup appointment. If it's a high demand item, you might be farther down the list. But as people return the item, you'll get notified when you're first in line. And once you're first in line, you have 1 week to come get that item before it moves to the next person. Next slide. Once you are first in line for the items that you're looking for, we have folks schedule an appointment to come get those items. Also, we have the ability to schedule drop-offs, which we really love. Again, I don't want to get too deep because we are the only library using this software right now, but for anybody who's curious, I did link to it in our first slide. It's open source, so if you have some software capacity in your network, in the city or town where you live, it's available to you. Next slide. So we really love having reservations for the general public because, again, like Jean said, we're able to anticipate what our day is going to look like ahead of time. Our librarians sort of live in this reservation screen. This is kind of their home base when they start their day. They look through all of the items that are going to be going out and coming in that day, and they pick all the things that are reserved to be picked up, store them, and then they can also see who made a plan to return stuff, which can be really helpful. especially if something's overdue. You can know that somebody's making a plan. Next slide. So yeah, every day our librarians will look through all the tools that are reserved to be picked up that day, and they'll stash them behind the librarian desk so that when folks come in throughout the day, all their tools are ready for them, and then they're able to just focus on those drop-in people. They're able to just sort of talk a little bit more about the project that people are working on and not so much about the specific tools. And then they're not just walking back and forth all the time helping people find stuff because they already did it earlier in the day when it was quiet, and they're able to just add a little bit of extra help to people and not just focus on the labor part. Next slide. And then the last thing, this is really small, but I figured if anybody wanted to nerd out later, you could zoom in. Our software allows us to kind of track when we've pulled those appointments for the day, like when a librarian has physically gone into the space, picked everything up. Our software shows like, oh, we built that order, or when the order has been picked up and completed, it kind of like grays it out, picks it down to the bottom of the screen so the librarians can focus on the remaining orders. So that's just sort of how we operate with reservations. It's a really big part of our library. We are bigger than other tool libraries, so it's been pretty crucial for us. I love it. I can't imagine not having it, but it's really tough to pull off, I know. Next slide. And the last thing is we do have people browsing on site, which is, I know what a lot of other tool libraries do. But since we do have that holds feature, a lot of the tools that are on the shelves might have a hold on them. They might actually be reserved, not for that day, but maybe the next day or next week. So we kind of have signs around the space encouraging people like, hey, just because it's on the shelf, it might actually not be available. And so people are either able to look on our little library computer kiosk or look on their phone and see, oh, I see some ice cream makers on the shelf. Which one can I take? And they can see, oh, one of them is actually on hold. Can't take that one, but this one's available. I'll take that one. So that's sort of how we manage reservations and on-site pool loans for the general public. I'll quickly talk through our other collections. Next slide. So yeah, we do, like I said, we have three kinds of memberships at the Chicago Tool Library. We have those general public memberships, and we have memberships for community groups who, like Jean mentioned, have huge orders. Sometimes you can see this picture on the left was, I think, the biggest order we ever had, this huge community cleanup. And for huge orders, we want to know when that's getting picked up. We can't have a drop in for an appointment like that, for a loan like that. We need to have a really clear understanding of when those tools need to be checked out and when they're coming back. Almost more importantly is when are they coming back so we can receive them all, make sure they're all in good condition, assess them all. It's a big project dealing with community groups. And similarly, camping gear. We found a lot of demand for camping gear in Chicago because people just don't have the space to store it or the budgets. And so our camping gear orders are also really large. People need a lot of stuff. It's bulky. It takes up a lot of shelf space. You can see this person in the picture is picking up a camping gear order, which takes it's overflowing a wagon. And then when it comes back, we want to make sure we know when it's coming back because someone else has a camping trip scheduled. They've got their, camping site reserved. These are very time sensitive things, which of course your home DIY is time sensitive, and we wish we could promise that too, but it's just a little tougher for us to execute. So next slide. So again, I'm not going to go into the specifics of my turn because Jean already did, but sort of why it works for us right now for our special members is that we really like that My Turn has the ability to charge fines and fees for these types of members for us. We actually don't charge late fees or fines for our general public members, but we do for our camping gear and our organizations, just because it's just our policies. We just don't feel like that creates a barrier to access in the same way that it would for if you're trying to check out, some basic home repair items. The custom reservation periods, like I mentioned, are super important to make this service relevant. for community groups who have big projects and programs planned, and also for camping gear. We really struggle to do camping gear without specific dates. And another reason why it works is that we have less users of these types, so that we can have enough items that we can, deal with the specificity of the dates versus our general public members, where we have a lot of unique items, we don't have backups, we don't have, it's just harder. One thing we really struggle with My Turn is the drop-off features. Is that like I mentioned, drop-offs for community groups and camping gear are super important. We want to know when they're happening. But it's just a little more subtle in My Turn than would be ideal for ourselves and for our users, just to make sure that people are really committed, that they really understand that stuff needs to come back. So that is one thing we struggle with, but overall, it supports those programs better than Circulate does right now. And so that's kind of how we use two different softwares with a lot of different features to manage our different lending programs. I think that's all I had. Great.
All right, thanks, Tessa. So as I said before, I'm Josh Epstein. I'm the executive director for Seattle Economy. I'm going to keep mine pretty brief. I just want to show you one tool that we use to support our hold and wait list. So this is a picture of it, and I'm going to go to it in a second, skip over, but we limit the reservations we use through My Turn just to event specific stuff. So like our catering supplies, party tents, that kind of thing. We are hoping to expand it, and Jean really covered why we weren't using it for all of our reservations. We had done it during the pandemic. We were doing more reservations and it didn't work out. A lot of people weren't showing up. So the no-shows was big. The other one was our inventory had gotten pretty out of control. We had we have about 10,000 items in our inventory, and over the 13 years we've been existing, there's been different coordinators and different volunteers, and so the inventory was pretty off from physical to online. And so there was a lot of folks, when they were doing reservations, that the thing wasn't there. So we are hoping to move towards that. We are using the physical inventory to rectify and reconcile those two different, the online and the physical inventory, and hopefully we can get there and be able to use more reservations. So what we are using instead right now, it's not dissimilar in some ways to parts of what Chicago's doing. We have created our own wait list that speaks to My Turn a bit. We're actually working with My Turn to hopefully integrate it more, and I'll show you how it works, and why and how we use it. And also, I have my operations manager Anna on here too. So Anna, if you see things I'm missing, please feel free to jump in. So our wait hold list, it is a little bit more cumbersome for our coordinators, our staff, because they have to do most of it manually, but we have less folks coming in and not being able to get what they want because we do it so manually. As we get bigger, it'd be nice to automate more of it. We just need to make sure that the things are actually going to be there by, adding in those buffers and making sure the inventory is all reconciled. So what I'd like to do right now is I'm going to switch what I'm sharing. Give me a second. Hopefully I do this correctly. Sorry. Almost there. Okay, so this is all right. Can everybody see that? Okay, great. So here is our wait list and hold list. And so how it works is somebody emails or calls or is in person and wants to get on the wait list or hold list. And so this is for, it's really first come, first serve for pretty much everything. But similar to Chicago, if there's something that is out, we can put you on the wait list. So if you go into something like extension hedge trimmer, which can be pretty popular, you can go in and actually I'm going to do this dethatcher. And so there's nobody that wants any dethatchers right now. So say I want a dethatcher. I can put my name in, and it actually should pull up me, which is great. So it's connected to our MyTurn database, and so it automatically pulls up my email. And then I can put in the dethatcher. I can put in a specific number, or I can say this has got to be, battery powered, or should be corded, or whatever I want. I don't think we have any battery powered dethatchers because these are all handheld. But anyway, adds it. So now what you'll see is, batter powered. Cool. That's delicious. So my status is waiting. And so that means that we don't have it in stock right now. I'm waiting. There could be a whole long list from like pressure washers in the middle of the summer. This can be 10, 20 folks long. And then I get to the top. We've got a dethatcher in. We can start the hold. The status changes from waiting to holding over here. And that means we have it in place. It is waiting for you there, but we're holding it for you in our holding area, or we've put a tag on it that it's being held for you. And the hold expires in August 21st. So we give 2 shifts, like open hours, for you to come in and get it. Once it's picked up, we can hit this again and it will disappear it. We can edit it. We can also send it down. So if we have a whole bunch of folks on the wait list and somebody says, hey, I want to stay on the wait list, but I can't get this right now, we can hit that button and it'll keep you on the wait list, but send you to the bottom. We're working to automate some things. Like right now, if tool comes in and we change you from waiting to holding, what it doesn't do yet is automatically change the status in MyTurn, which would be really nice. So we have to go manually change the status so that people aren't looking online and seeing that dethatcher is actually available. Then, we have our policies for renewals is you have most tools for a week. There is some exceptions like pressure washers during the summer, but generally it's 1 week. You can renew it if there's nobody on the wait list. So there's another issue is that we have to make sure that our coordinators and tool librarians are very aware of what's on the wait list. So when they're renewing tools, they know that there's a wait list. We don't have an automated way to do that, unfortunately, yet. And so we won't renew it if there is a wait list for that. If there isn't, we'll renew it a week at a time up to a month. So I'll just show you once you say it pick up, that disappears and is gone. It's pretty easy to add more categories if we want, or delete categories. You can see so there's 2 paint sprayers being held and no members waiting for more. Right now we're doing pretty good on this. If I showed you, our Northeast location actually tends to have longer wait lists in the summer, but this system has helped keep our wait lists down. So this was created by a volunteer of ours and is pretty simple and is replicable. And so if folks are interested in this, again, we're trying to use more and more of the MyTurn features, so or integrate this into MyTurn. But if this seems like something that'd be useful for you because you're having some of those challenges of the no-shows, or your inventories don't match up, or whatever it is, this can be a stopgap or a supplemental thing that can help create a wait hold list for you. So I think I'll leave it at that, and I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll pass it back to you, Liana.
Thanks so much, Josh. This is just the part of our collab where we open it up for questions, discussion, comments, suggestions. I know there has been pretty healthy, active chat, but I will put a couple out there just for folks who might not be able to see the chat. So Max asked, when you say another copy to fulfill a reservation, is that an equivalent but separate item? I know MyTurn has a way to tag things as equivalent items, but I'm curious if folks have other thoughts or techniques about how to handle substitution of items. Say if someone reserves a drill and you have 8 drills. Any other thoughts or comments on that?
Brianna, Rachel, we do the way I found it, we just name items the same thing, and if there's like a big enough difference for them to have like a specific name to do that. But like if we name everything hammer drill, that is basically the same. If for whatever reason I'm pulling the reservation and I find that that specific hammer drill is not available, I can just put the number in for another hammer drill, and it'll automatically add it. Like it'll take it as an equivalent because it's the same name. So there's like no extra buttons really to press. So I thought that was pretty cool about my turn. Like that's how I get around it.
Thanks, Rachel. And yeah, Tom asked, which will help us for record keeping, if everyone could rename themselves to include their library name and location. Would be really lovely. Anyone else have good techniques for managing comparable items in reservations?
I just have
Yeah,
a
we haven't
a
gone through
clarifying
any.
question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you go.
I just had a clarifying question for the duplicate or the what's it called, Jean? The ones that are like generic or equivalent item. Yeah, I was wondering when you're naming things, the name isn't the same, but it's equivalent. Can you still do this process that you mentioned, the copy of the item to lock it to the pickup, or is it you cannot exchange it?
So, and I think this will go back to Leanna's initial question. So the system won't automatically recognize it. So my turn won't recognize, oh, there's a hammer drill, but you're putting in, like a very specialized hammer drill if it has a different name or it has a different item type. It won't swap those automatically, but during basically the reservation prep process, or what we call the build order process, you could manually remove, say, the item that you just don't have another copy of and add any other tool. So that is another way. So it's like, it might not be the same. So, the opposite might be more true. Someone asked for a regular power drill, but you just have like a ratcheting power drill. You have like a more powerful one. You might want to send them a note. Can we swap it? And then you can still lock additional items to the reservation that were not on the original reservation. You can get it, and you can, by default, there's a warning just letting you know, oh, that item wasn't on the original reservation. Are you sure you want to add it? But you can even turn that warning off. So.
Great, thank you.
Great, good question. Yeah.
I know a lot of folks are trying to make this as unmanual as possible, as automated as possible. It's good to know. Max, did you want to clarify that question or add anything to it?
I just wanted, I believe we can disable reservations on our end for like smaller items, like equivalent items, which I think was a big, for us, like most of our toil for reservations was like grabbing a screwdriver for someone, and it's very hard to find that specific screwdriver. So we turned off reservations entirely for a while just because of that, and we turned it back on for very limited times, but we would like to like disable those at the item level. And I think that's possible. We just haven't had like someone go in and do it for like all screwdrivers or something.
Yeah, at least in my turn, you can do that with a status. You can set items as non-reservable. You can still show those and allow them, basically the members to see them, or you can actually even hide them, as I kind of mentioned. If you, let's say it's not for something small, it's for some of your bigger items. Maybe like pressure washers or something that are really popular, and you want to hold a couple back that are not in general circulation so you can fill a reservation. So you could also use a status to sort of, that's like, oh, we actually have 4 copies, only admins can see, one of them. That's sort of held back to help fill reservations for just like the super in-demand items.
I have a question. Is it possible to bulk like ghost items? So for instance, what I mean is we're talking with the High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, who owns a farm share program for farming tools. And I'm guessing we're going to make them available in the spring right before grow season and then take them off after grow season. They're going to take the tools elsewhere to store for the winter. Is it possible? Do you have to go individually and activate each one, or can you group them and have them appear when you need them?
There are a couple of ways to do it. So the easiest way requires a multiple location My Turn site. where basically you put all those seasonal tools into a different location, and then you can basically hide or deactivate that location when you're outside of growing season. For a single location site, to do a bulk change like that specifically, where you're hiding the item, that would require a status, use a status, and that would require like an export import. So export, add the status to the items, re-import. You can't currently set statuses based on like type of item. You can set most values based on like, oh, hand tools versus power tools have a different loan length or different cost. You can set that on all of them, but statuses tend to be specific to the item, and that is the place where you can like completely hide those items. So, so it's either use two locations or do a quick export import. So good question.
John, I know that you're relatively new in Bend, and it's just very cool to see you have a name for your tool library. Welcome.
Thank you. We kind of got accelerated because Habitat for Humanity took us under their wing and gave us a space, which is awesome. So we're
Very cool
launching
partnership.
September 5th. Go big or go home.
Go big at home. Any other questions for our community or our speakers about reservations?
I did have one question. This is Brad with the MRC Toolbucket Library here in Centralia, Washington. Quick question on cancellations. I've had a couple members who have reserved items, were 100% reservation, by the way, too. And they did not pick up the items and had called, but they could not cancel the reservation. It was the next day. So once that time had changed, is there a way to cancel the reservation after the time frame has happened?
So oh, you mean like they didn't pick up on time? They should still be able to cancel in their account. So they can view their upcoming and past reservations. It might be that if the reservation started the previous day by default, we're not showing it to them. They can filter and change basically the filters to show past reservations and then still cancel and say they don't need it. We don't automatically cancel reservations currently. We will be adding an option for that. But I'm guessing if it was like the day after the reservation starts, by default for we have an option for admins to show basically reservations that are either upcoming starting today forward or ones that are still valid, but haven't been picked up yet. I don't think we have that default for users. We probably should. And we'll tweak that just to make it easier. That way they can see, oh, I didn't pick this up on time, and they can still cancel it really easily to let you know they're just not going to be coming for it.
Correct. Is there a way for the admin to go out and cancel the reservation? I couldn't find the cancel button.
Yeah, so on the admin side, we call it deny. It does the same thing.
Yes.
But then if you filter, you can basically see, did the admin deny it or did the regular user cancel it? And if you don't like that wording, you can literally change any of the wording in the platform using the built-in translation tools. So you could make them both. I think one of our customers changed deny to deny or cancel. So
okay, perfect, great,
yeah.
Thank you. Yes, that change worked really well. So I have used that item. So great, thanks.
Anna asks in the chat, does anyone charge fees to members who do not pick up a reservation, or do you have any other sort of carrot or stick incentives? I added that. Steve, go ahead.
A little bit complicated to explain, so I'll take advantage of speaking. We have 3 cider presses that are in high demand during the season. And as of a couple years ago, we changed policy. So if you make a reservation for a cider press and do not pick it up, we do charge you for the full rental. We switched them from week-long rental to day. We use My Turn, so it's the daily rental thing. Of course, we're only open Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So if I check out a cider press on Tuesday, I pay 2 days worth. Thursday, I pay 2 days worth. Saturday, I pay 3 days worth. People actually respond to this pretty well, and I haven't had to engage with anybody about, you didn't pick it up, we're going to charge you the full amount. But it has been effective at getting people to be a little bit more responsible about showing up or not, or canceling that reservation. Hope that helps.
Anyone else? No fees.
Hey, I'll mention one other thing. So I just wanted to also thank Tessa and her team, as well as Josh and their team, because they've both offered to basically share how they're doing wait lists, how they're doing holds. Tessa's, the Chicago Tool Library's versions of reservations. As Josh kind of mentioned, we're working with their team to make it a little bit easier until we add a wait list functionality into My Turn, which is planned. Got kind of pushed back by some other features, including a reputation system that's coming out soon. And that won't tie in with reservations yet, but you will be able to, but we are adding a reputation system, and another good candidate for losing a reputation point might be someone didn't pick up a reservation on time. So I'll definitely add that to the list if it's not already there. But I just wanted to say I love basically working together and this whole community, and how can we collaborate and make things work. If one platform works better for one group, another works better for another group, that's awesome. And we're always looking at ways how can we basically work together. There's just so much work to do in this area, and so much to basically increase reuse and how important it is. So we just kind of want to, basically improve things all around. Same thing if anyone needs or wants some help from us, or My Turn, feel free to, you're always welcome to reach out. If you have pain points, let us know. So I, at least picked up a few things just from, this session that are going to go on our roadmap. And I'll apologize in advance. Wait lists have been discussed for a couple of years. And I know that they have not come out. Some of that's been issues on our team. Some of it's been other features coming up, but please always feel free to reach out. And let's sort of make everyone's platform and everyone's experience better with reuse.
Thanks, Jean. We really appreciate you being so responsive always to our invitations and our questions and our suggestions. You guys are great. We do have a couple more minutes if we have any last questions. I know there's some discussion about things like barcoding versus handwritten numbers and packaging of items in the chat. So I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. Does anyone have any burning questions that they would like to tap the wisdom for this room on? And if you need to jump off early, that's totally fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a strange question. I've noticed that some tool libraries on their website say that they have like a big bin full of stuff that, they're just drowning in. They're just like trying to give it away. So an idea I had for a fundraiser was for Christmas to like take some old toolboxes, paint them with our logo, and then have like a take-home kit that people could buy for like, $35 that would have like pliers, screwdriver, everything in it, stud finder. I'm wondering what other kind of fundraising stuff might people do on the side with the extra tools?
We actually have in our, Shelby, go ahead. I was going to say our collab has a case study on the tool sales that the Seattle Economy Organization
Yeah.
hosts.
We kept planning to host a big yard sale for all of our overstock tools. And we started just putting a folding table out with tools from our overstock, kind of at like a $1, $2, $5 low price tag. And we move like 30 tools a shift. So it's actually generated a lot of spare money, and it's stuff we didn't pay for. So that's how we've been managing all of that.
Yeah, I'll say the same. We used to do event tool sales, and it was a lot of work. And you have to kind of hoard stuff for a long time, and it takes up a lot of space, and then you have to like get a bunch of volunteers, and it was just a lot of work. And now we just have a couple of shelves. So if you have the luxury of a little bit of space, we have a couple shelves where if we just decommission and we got a nicer, planer donated, so we kind of chuck, an older one and we sell it for $5 and we make like $1,000 a month, just kind of like putting our stuff we don't want on a shelf. It's been a big surprise for us of just people like to buy stuff. People like to impulse shop at places that make them happy. So we make a lot from just, putting stuff on a shelf weirdly. I would highly recommend Stuff Shelf.
we've had a lot of conversations about whether selling tools for private use and ownership is antithetical to our mission or not. And ultimately, we decided people are going to buy tools somewhere if they want to use them regularly. Keenan, go ahead.
Tools in the community.
I was just gonna resonate on the yard sale thing. We're currently having a lot of issue with that. The space that we've stored it in has gone from enough space to at about a week after most yard sales, stuff is pouring out the door again when we had just cleared it out and gotten it tidied up. And it takes huge amount of volunteer effort before the yard sale to get everything set up and priced, and then during the yard sale managing so many people all at once, and then we've got after the yard sale either inventorying it all kind of at once or putting it back into the inventory room. We did used to do a regular tools shelf, but it wasn't super popular, but it may be a great way with like lower input at a time to be kind of generating some sales and keeping things moving. But we've also thought about that kind of starter kit toolbox as well. And I think it's great if you have the time to put something together, but time keeps running out.
Steven and Jason.
I've had 3 go rounds of trying to do that, build a toolkit with stuff in them. And a thing that I've run into is you've got your number 2 Phillips, your blade, your pliers, your this, your that, and you don't have, it's really hard to build anything like a reasonable set that you could really give to somebody that's not totally broken stuff. So maybe that's time too. If you let the project last a whole year, it might work. John, if you're getting a ton of donations right now, now's the time to try that. But just ongoing biz, I haven't had any success.
Yeah, I think we're doing a tool donation drive on the 24th from 1 to 5. So we're doing specific hours. Habitat's not going to accept donations on our behalf. And so that way we can kind of limit what we're getting and just make sure that it's not just total crap.
Jason? I think you're on mute still, hon.
Sure am.
There we go.
We did a pretty big tool drive with the city of Gresham in the spring and got in a lot of things. And we kind of sorted it into bins as it came in and then tried to follow Seattle's tool model, which I've seen in person and is very impressive and very effective. But we just didn't have the scale of volunteers that we needed. So that was kind of the shortcoming for us. But what we do is we keep specific tools that are going to be really useful for specific parts of the community. So like size 4 and 5 hex keys and different sets of screwdrivers. And then we do a donation at a couple of our wheelchair accessible housing complexes because those are tools that they really specifically will need. And then our Habitat also keeps the plastic injection molded toolboxes that are for specific, random tool collections. So we have a small supply of those. And then when we have overstock things, we do just kind of a volunteer day of kind of filling those out. And then we have those available for community members that are houseless that just need to kind of keep their stuff a little more organized. We have not tried selling them yet. Probably would be worth a couple of bucks. But when we're putting in that extra volunteer time, it wouldn't probably wash out for us. So we just try to make it a little bit more impactful within the community.
Yeah, I think dealing with excess tools in a way that is useful and productive could be a whole collab. Yeah, and limiting donations, definitely a spot that a lot of us are in.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about like those sculptures that people weld together that look like aliens or predators, and I'm like, maybe we could do something like that with all the tools.
So Shelby and then Tom.
I feel like whenever we have an issue with things not coming back or issues with reservations, we tend to, as a board, enter this sort of like punitive mindset, which is that's kind of like how our culture works, but we're trying to build a different culture. And so I'm always kind of looking for more resources, and I'm sure other libraries have delved into like trainings or readings or I don't know, causal accountability things, tools that you've looked into. So if anybody has any tips on that, that's something that we always find useful.
I mean, for encouraging positive
Or
behavior as opposed to punishing negative.
instead of having fines for things, you know, like negative reactions to things, other ways that people have found that people respond to returning things on time, not stealing things, et cetera, et cetera.
If I can
Well,
say
Tom and
something
then
just
Tessa.
real quick on that. As you said, punitive tends to not work, including late fees. Fines will potentially get items back, but that was one of the reasons why we had implemented reminders before items are due back, like before we even did overdue notices. Once there's this sort of switch that goes off that once something is already overdue, people tend to, it's like, I just don't want to deal with it and don't bring it back. And that's, sort of backed up by psychology a bit. So doing what you can to get items back on time tends to, tends to be better. And last quick thing, that reputation system coming back, they'll basically get your member, you can be able to set things up so members get points for returning items on time. They could lose them for returning them broken or damaged, but the customer we're working with on this had done it as a punitive negative system, and we'd flipped it around. So it's like you're earning a reputation rather than you're getting 3 strikes. So anything you can do to make it positive rather than negative definitely helps. And sorry for jumping in all.
Excited to see that tool. I have Tom and then Tessa, and then we're going to wrap up for today.
Tessa, did you have a direct response to that? Or do you have a different question?
I have something that we're about to launch that I was just, if anybody's
Oh.
curious about how we're handling that.
Yeah,
But
why don't you go, and then my question is
Sure.
actually related to this thread, but I think it comes next. So why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Shelby, hi, friend, miss you. Uh, this is something we're all concerned about. We're trying something new like next week. I'm a little scared about it. But we basically are creating like a kind of, which I think some other tool libraries might do this, which is we have sort of like a special tier of tools, like those ones that would really hurt to get lost or go missing. And so we're creating like a new category of tools that we can limit access to. So like a brand new member can't borrow the fanciest, best, most in-demand tools yet until they've built a little bit of a reputation with us, a little bit of a, they've earned a little bit of lending history. And then if anybody is a little unreliable, they're not getting a fee, but they just can't borrow that super high demand stuff. They can still borrow they can still borrow a hammer, a drill even, but they maybe can't borrow a table saw or a vinyl cutter. So that's something that we're trying out again, it's like our software is going to be doing that, but I think there's probably ways that people can make that work, something like that work for you, where it's like, hey, you're a brand new member. Awesome. Welcome. It's your first visit. Maybe you can't have, all of our $400 tools today. And so that's something we're trying out. So I'll let everybody know how it goes.
I'll do the same. Our reputation system is going to be doing the same. It sounds like we're about 2 weeks, running 2 weeks behind Chicago. And I got some interesting feedback from a public library, not independent, that they specifically don't want to do it based on reputation because they don't want to feel like they're limiting. Some people can access these items, others can't. So I'm happy to share some of that feedback as well. So most of the feedback we've gotten, I think, and there are a couple of tool libraries that already do this. So the Carhartt tool library in Detroit actually operates that way already. They're the ones that sponsored the reputation feature. So for them, it's worked really well, but it's going to also depend on community, like a lot of these things do. But so sorry for jumping in again.
Just put this topic on our list for a future collab because I think we could do
Yeah.
an hour-long conversation.
I think so. And one of the things I was thinking about, so Max from Capitol Hill got to come by to my house last Friday. We got to have tea and hang out for a bit. And the conversation around loss and damage came up. And there was wondering if other libraries are tracking like the amount of loss and damage they're taking or things that aren't being returned and or percentages related to the number of tools that are not being returned.
We do use the lost and damage tags in my turn when things are lost or damaged.
And then, related to that is, how is that? And this is again, maybe just again, questions we can cover in a future session. How is that relate to membership and to access that members have and all those things. So this is definitely, I think this is teeing up a great session, maybe for November.
Yeah, and just to close this out, a reminder, our September collab will be on advocacy and political action for nonprofit organizations. And then in October, we will be collaborating with Shareable on mutual aid for tool libraries. They're part of their ongoing mutual aid collab series. You can find the recording of this and registration for any upcoming collabs on the TLA website, toollibraryalliance.org. You can also email us, hello@toollibraryalliance.org anytime. And if you are with a tool lending organization in the US that's been active for 2 or more years, let us know if you'd like to join the Alliance. We do have monthly member calls that deal with some of these sort of more in-depth advanced tool lending issues. With that, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone so much. It's great to see you. Happy summer, and we'll be back in September.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, congrats, John.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, Keenan, are you still there? And if so,
Yep.
can you just hang on for just a second?
Sure.